Welcome to the Listening Heart Podcast,
where we take a moment to truly listen, explore, and connect with the stories and experiences that matter most.
We're your hosts, Brian and Summer Smith.
So wherever you are, take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's begin this journey of listening and discovery together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Listening Heart Show.
Episode 6.
We just getting up there, like one rolling after the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm Brian. This is Summer
Smith.
Oh yeah, I know that Smith,
but they might not know.
I'm Brian Smith. This is Summer Smith.
Hi.
We're the Smiths, and welcome to episode number 6.
Yes, following God's lead. We have a wonderful guest today, and we are going to add him to the stage. And it's Elder Como from One Church in Christ. And we want to thank you, Elder Como, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank y'all. This pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Yay! So, Elder Como is a father. He's a husband. He is a grandfather. He's uncle. He is elder. He's almost a doctor.
Almost
a doctor. Okay, all right. That's exciting. And so many other things. He wears a lot of hats. And so we're just going to get into it today. So we named the show Following God's Lead because Elder Como has a very interesting story about his life and, how he is being led by God, has been led by God, and how God has just influenced his life. So we're going to start. Let's put you on the big stage. Uh-oh. Did I do the right thing? Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
Oh, I know. There. Okay. There it goes. Okay, Elder Como. So let's start off. Tell us
a little bit about you. Tell us about you.
About me. I was born in 1963.
Oh, my goodness.
Wonderful parents. Houston, Texas. All right. Funny, Summer. Funny. They did have hospitals back then. Okay. And the thing of it, I had one of my cousins that was the DON at that time at Bentop Hospital in Houston, Texas, and she helped with my birth. So that was a good thing. I was born, like I said, born and raised in Houston, Texas. I also have some Louisiana background because of my father. Mm-hmm. And I used to go there every summer. I started remembering going there when I was probably about 8. We would go there every summer, and we would help out with my great aunt. It was always something to do at her house because she lived in Opelousas and kind of like in the country part where it was red clay roads, and her house was built out of tin.
Oh my goodness!
We always had to go do something. We had to put another roof on it, a siding. It was always something. She only had wooden floors in her bedroom in the kitchen.
And the rest was what? Dirt?
Dirt. It was dirt.
Wow.
It was dirt. Yes. With that. And she had an outhouse.
Oh my goodness.
We would have to go out there and clear the weeds and kill the snakes, whatever was around there. My daddy had to make sure my daddy and my cousin Red, which was my aunt's son, him and Dad would have to go out there and clear the outhouse and make sure it's still flushing right. And so I was, and then we had to go make sure we get the eggs from around the house because they would get hot and cut, and spoil, and her house would really smell.
Mhm.
So we would have to do things of that nature. So I was country
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Straight
in
up.
that way. And my mom's people was from Hempstead, Texas, Navasota, Texas, which was country also, but we lived in Houston, and we would go there, especially in the summer on weekends, to my uncle's house, one of my uncle's house, and we had to chop wood. They had an iron stove. We went out with my uncle, and he killed different animals, and we would have to bag them, bring them to my aunt Irene, and she would cook them. And man, could she cook! Oh Lord, have mercy. And so I grew up that way, and which I'm very happy that I did. So
Growing up like that, how do you feel like any of that informed the way that you are now? Like,
yes, because that the thing being raised that way, you are closer to God. You people say you nature, but you are closer to God. In Louisiana, they would go gator hunting, and that's where my dad's kinfolks was kind of in the illegal way. But they would go gator hunting and kill gators and get their skin, makes boots and belts and everything, and we would eat the tail. But and then, like I said, from my mother's standpoint, going squirrel hunting, possum, raccoon, it was nothing that they did not eat. It just brought you closer to it. To me, it brought you closer to God. In my mother's brother out in the country, we would sleep out on the porch. They would put a pallet down, and we would sleep out on the porch. We have they two or three $100. They would be there in front of the porch, gardening. But we would sleep, and you can look at the stars, the moon, and just in the trees, and feel the breeze, and just realize how wonderful God really is, or how amazing that He really is.
So you grew up in the church, so when did you go to church back then?
Yes, I grew up. We grew up in church. That was one of those things where you actually hear people that church started at Bible class started at 9, and somewhere between 9 and 4 we was through with church. Excuse me. I'll take it back. From 9 to 2 we was in church. Then we went back at 5 o'clock.
Wow. Oh my
because
goodness!
They had the singing group, and my mom and dad was in there, so we would have to go and just sit there in the church until 6 o'clock.
Wow!
And then church would let out about 8 o'clock.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow! So that was on a Sunday,
right? And the only reason why it was, I remember the minister, Brother D.H. Straw, bless his heart, he would say, "Well, I'm gonna cut this short because the kids got school in the morning."
After y'all been there all day, I bet y'all had to have y'all homework done on Saturday.
Lord have mercy, Jesus. Okay. But the thing about it, even though we was in the church that long, we was fed. They always made sure the kids had, what's fed. Went home, did whatever we had to do around the house. Next thing you know, it was time for church again.
Wow.
Then you just get up at 4:30, we leaving, and that was it. Till about 8:15, 8:20, once we got home. Yeah.
So was there ever a time where you felt that it was too much church? Like, as you're growing up, like if you start church that young, like I've heard people say I'm not going to church no more because I've been to church, all my life.
That is so
That
true.
shit over.
That is so true. Because you're like, oh my God, I ain't going to like that. Ooh, if I hear another Brother Strauss sermon, oh Lord, have Brother Winfrey. Oh my God, or Brother Miles, all of them. Ooh, ooh. Now Brother Miles preaching was okay. He always did that hellfire and brimstone stuff, so he would scare us. You know, we were like, ooh, God going to bring the fire down on you, and you're like, oh my Lord, you know. But yes, it was times when you would say, oh my God, church again, because we had church on Sunday. They had a practice on Tuesday, and then of course we had Wednesday night. And then I remember having a every other Friday social night. And
oh my goodness.
yeah, the base of the social night was us kids making sure we getting everything for the adults, you know, like cookies, sandwiches, whatever. And then go back while they would be sitting up there talking, and we'd be doing the work. And then we had to go into the church kitchen and clean, and all the kids, boys and girls, we all had to clean. So
that's a lot. That's a lot of church.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes. Yes.
Okay, so that was your childhood growing up. So what led you to the military?
What led me to the military really was Felita.
Okay. So before you went to the military, you were married.
Right. We was at we went to school, met each other Southwest in Terrell, Texas. Okay. And then after that we came out and we had got married. And she was pregnant. And I was working at a security company, and which, it wasn't bringing in much money and all, but I also had a brother-in-law at the time that had his own business, had his own cleaning business. And he helped us a lot because I would sometimes not work at the security company and work with him because he would pay me more. And then he started having me be over some of the guys because he seen that I was dependable and I was right there. And I was working for a family. He was working for, his family. So we did well. And so, but then after that, it came to a part where it kind of got dried out and I needed to do something else. So I was looking around. I wasn't too sure about school because back then, man, just your parents instill in you, especially your fathers, that you need to work. So then she came up and she said something about the military. I said, oh, okay. And I started looking into it and I said, whoa, okay, we can do this. The only thing I wasn't too sure of is boot camp, and that type of thing. But I said, okay. So I went down to the recruiting office, and it was a general recruiting office that had Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, all that. So I took an ALFAS test. And when I took that test, the next day, the recruiter called me and said, come on back in here. I said, okay. So when I went back in, he said, you scored high enough where you can pick any military service that you wanted to be in.
Wow.
So of course she was pregnant and I wanted to make sure I was still with her. I didn't want to go somewhere that was remote and all that. So I started asking around, asking the recruiter. Of course, now the recruiter at the time was trying to get me to go into the Army as a high, not as an officer, but still go in as a high ranking NCO or close to it. So I was like, I didn't know, but at the time, which I didn't know, if he had got me going in the Army, he would have got a bigger bonus. But this other recruiter, and I would never forget him, his last name Chase, this guy, he came to me and he said, look, he caught me outside. I was going to the car. He said, look, Xavier, you are smart. Okay. He said, I know you got a family run. He said, the best place for you to go is to the Air Force. He said, okay, that's family. He said, so when you come back tomorrow, you tell him you want to go to the Air Force. I said, yes, sir. So I went home, I told Felita, and we said, okay, I got back and told him the Air Force. He said, for real? You really want to go to Air Force? Yeah. He said, with Air Force, you might just want to be like a cook or MP, what I have, or he had something else. I said, well, what's MP? He said, military, a missile cop. I said, okay, I'll do that. He said, you sure you want to do it? I said, yes. He said, oh my God. He said, okay, well, fine. he said, well, let me put it in and let me see what they're gonna say. And the other recruiter, the one told me, he said, okay, make sure you put his score in when you put it when you send it into the Air Force. And the guy looked at it, but he knew once he put that score in, the Air Force was like, yeah, we got him. Come on. Like that. And that's what happened. That's what happened. And the fast track, I went in. We went to Lackman Air Force Base, which was in San Antonio. Had a sister that stayed there. So Felita at times would come there to visit, where she could come visit me once I was able to have weekends off. And my first assignment, once I got through, was going to be in Iceland. It was going to be a remote. And I started like crying a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, I would never. And then I said, Lord, I prayed. And I said, Lord, she's pregnant. She can't go to Iceland because it's a remote, and I'll have to be there. I'll have to be there for 18 months.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
She was already, she was pregnant and everything. Oh, we already had CJ too. And so I said, Lord have mercy. You got to help me. I need to be with my family. And sure enough, this last guy named Barrick, I remember him, black guy. He came. He was the only child type thing. So he came to me. He said, Xavier, you are going to Iceland? I said, yeah, man, remote. I said, man, I wish I could trade or something. He said, well, that's why I'm coming to you. I said, what's that? He said, I want to trade. I said, you want to go to Iceland? He said, yeah, man, I'm tired of my family. I want to leave. Go far away. I said, well, where are you going? He said, Montana. I said, Montana? I said, where? He said, he told me, he said, I don't know where it's at. I just know it's in the States. I said, okay, I'll take it. It. So we hurried up and went to our squadron leader, told him, and he went in, he took it. He said, y'all sure? He said, yeah. And he said, yeah, this will be a better fit because I wouldn't be worrying about my family back home, where Barrett, he's gone. He's gone.
Right.
So we switched and I say, thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Oh.
So we end up going to Montana. Yeah, Great Falls, Montana.
So God was answering your prayer.
Yes, he
working in your life all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I think God just said, yep, you need to be with her. She needs you. She ain't gonna make it without you. So I said, okay, God, let's go.
She probably said you ain't gonna make it without her.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay. That's okay.
She's probably saying that right now.
She probably was praying.
I'll be just fine. Yeah. She no. Yeah, she needed.
Yeah, both were praying. So y'all went to Montana, and then how did you? Or when did you know that you were called to preach? Be a minister.
I did not really know that at all until we came back. We was out of the Air Force then, and we came
so how
back.
long was that? Like, how long were you in the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force
for your service
for just about 4 years because I got hurt. I fell down on a missile shaft and busted up my left knee. Pretty bad. So I had to learn some new things and learn to walk again really on that leg and the Lord blessed me and I was able to do all those things. They wanted to the Air Force wanted, since I couldn't be a missile cop anymore, they was gonna have to put me in a placement job, and the placement job they was putting me in was gonna be a cook. And I said, oh Lord, we ain't gonna be no cook. And then they came back and said, well, we can put you out and at some point in time you can start trying to get some benefits. So that's basically what happened.
Okay.
And then after that we was out for about a year
Mm-hmm.
And we went to a church at Swope Park, Church of Christ here in Kansas City. And that was another thing. I was thinking we was going back to Houston, but Felita wanted to come back to Kansas City because it was just her mom
Mm-hmm.
and here, and so that's why we came back, and that was good. It was good. It was a good thing because Kansas City was a good place to raise the kids. However, anyway, about a year, I was out, and then it was a young man named Mitchell that I knew. I knew his brother because me and his brother was in college together, Southwestern. He came here, and he was preaching at a white congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wanted to have this black congregation in St. Louis because he was from St. Louis. So every now and then he would take a trip, and he would come and ask me to preach sometimes for him.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I said, okay, I would preach. I had really haven't. I did a little preaching at Southwestern, but I was not a ministerial student.
Yeah, that was going to be my question because
Yeah, I was not a ministerial student. I just heard, and I had an oldest brother that would preach, but I really wasn't trying to be a preacher or trying to be any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But when Chris came up to me, I said, well, I said, well, it's a white congregation. I can do this, You don't have to worry about, getting all the emotional and everything, I mean, 15 minutes, that was it. Okay. So he started having me substitute.
Mm-hmm.
However, I start really getting into it and really start teaching and learning things. And at that time, I felt like, okay, well, this is the time. This is time. So it was I could truly say that it was a situation where God got in my path because I wasn't even looking to go down that path.
So you were saying how you were supported during that, going to the military. Was this change going to ministry? What was it was it a transition for your family at that time, or how did that transition go?
Yeah, it was a very, very transparent because a transition. Because one thing for sure, what you have to realize, you have to have a supportive cast. And Felita was very supportive. I don't know if she ever thought about really being a minister wife, but she got involved with her attitude, and how she was bubbling and talking to people at church loved her. And so, so it just, and then the kids, imagine, my kids being small and everything, running around, and they love the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to say that when I was in the military, at one time I did preach at a congregation. I preached a couple of Sundays at this congregation. So, and they just asked me, it was a white congregation too, but I think they asked me because really I was a black man, and they was thinking, hey, he could put some fire into the stuff, which I did a little bit and everything. So they had me a couple of times. So, but again, I wasn't looking to be a minister, anything like that. Minister, deacon, elder, or nothing. I was just, looking as a brother with a family, and and they just going to church.
And you were just being asked. So the guy asked you to cover for him a lot, but then how did that move to?
He ended up a church in St. Louis did end up asking him. And so he felt bad. So he asked me if I would fill in until they found another minister. So I went to the elders there, and needless to say, they loved me. Now Chris wasn't married, but I think they loved the situation that I was married. My kids, was there. I remember one of the elders was saying, Xavier, your kids are very obedient, And with other kids, I said, okay. And I think that all of that, got them where they say, no, we're happy. we're happy with you. I mean, but I said, okay, it's still just going to be a temporary thing, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, then what happened? So
they asked me to stay on
mm-hmm.
until they found someone else,
mm-hmm.
and I said, okay, I would do that. However, that someone never came across, so I just stayed in there. So I was there.
So you ended up being.
I was there for 3 years. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. And then from there, did you move to did you start your own church after that, or?
From there, what you have to understand with God, before God move you, whatever the reason He gave you to be at your place, you have to learn or to accept whatever He's teaching. I felt like at the right congregation, He taught me how to be patient, how to look at things in a broader way instead of just a one way. Okay. And then after that, church basically folded. It folded. Then came just other opportunities where I started being asked to preach. We ended up being at Blue Ridge Church of Christ, and at times I was asked to be, to preach there. So I just started preaching, and then after that, I was being asked at different engagements to come and preach at different congregations. So it started then.
So when we were talking, you said that your journey was given to you while you were a minister. So what journey, well, first we do have a comment. One of the comments asked you to back up, and they want you to talk about your courtship with Sister Felita.
Okay, which kid was that? Or which person was that?
That was my mama.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
She want to know.
Okay.
She want to know. She said, back up and talk about your courtship with Sister Felita. She said, also, was it high school or college where you met?
Oh, no, it was college. It was at Southwestern. It was my second year and her first year.
Okay.
And I met her. See, we was I seen her walking, and she had a good friend named Ramona, and them two thought they was the queen of the campus. And I must say they were, because they caught a lot of guys' eye. And when I started looking at her, I was a security guard at the school. And I started looking at her and started trying to talk to her. But there was another guy that was trying to talk to her. And this other guy, when he found out I was trying to talk to her, he came to me and trying to tell me he was trying to tell me to stop talking to her. And then at that time, me, I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a como. You won't tell me what to do. So I looked at him like, oh, let the best man win, bro. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Say, I'm up for the challenge. It's good.
Hey, Brian, you already know, man. One of those things, Yeah. So I said, let the best man win. Okay, cuz it's all good. I'm from Texas. I think he was from either Mississippi or something like that, but I didn't. What, please? And so anyway, well, I started dating, started talking to her more, and she eventually started talking to him less, and then that was it. I just started talking to her more and more and more, and find out how interesting she was, and find out especially the things that she had went through in her life. And it just brought us closer together. And with that, she really didn't have a family type situation, but I did. And so it was more of that, and we just connected, and it was something that the Lord gave me.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now I see a theme because you said that when you were in college, you were a security guard, and then military, you was like a police, and you mentioned that you're known as like a fighter for justice, or you know, so that is something that sounds like that's you know a gift from the Lord, or just you know what I mean, like you're always
right. It was something I could truly say. Every time I made a step, it was God. Even when I went to Blue Ridge, and Blue Ridge had a blowout where the church has split it up.
Mm-hmm.
We started AOJC, and I started that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I started was that people came up to me and asked me if I would start a church and be a minister. So that was something, again, that I did not go out for. It was something that came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was just God, because it came straight to me.
Right.
So I accepted it, and we went on from there.
So I have a question. So how do you know? Because everything that comes to a person may not be of God. So how can for someone who's
navigate that?
Yeah, if for someone who's listening and may not know, if they're maybe they have some choices to make. How do you know when something is of God, or that you're being led by God?
Well, okay, it's like this. When it's something when it's something directly that God wants you to do, I believe God will just make it there for you. You don't have to do anything. It will just come to you. Now, if there's a situation where you're thinking about doing something, trying to make a choice, then that's where you have to go into what, and this is what I believe in: fasting. I think fasting is one of the quickest ways for you to get in line with God, because you will think about the different ways and think about all the choices. Think about all the choices. You just keep thinking about all the choices. And you might start writing down the pros and cons of those choices. Okay. And somewhere in there, God is going to speak to you about which way to go. But you have to be a person that has the faith, that believe that God will answer you. Now, again, we have to understand God does not answer us on our own time. God has his own time.
Right.
But you have to be faithful enough to keep asking, asking. Okay. And it will come through. God most definitely will answer your prayer.
I think that's for the listeners, they don't know, we kind of talked before we got on, but I think that's what we were talking about, the podcast and the show is like, and that's what I was telling you. I don't know the purpose of why we were doing it. I just know that we need to do it.
Exactly.
And that's basically how it came to me. It's like, okay, this opportunity has come. I just think we need to do it. I don't know how. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know, but I just know that he gave me a vision that I need to do that.
And that would be what I would call a direct calling from God that came to you directly. So, and even though something else might come up, you might think about this, think about that. God does talk to us.
Right.
And sometimes it's some things that God said, okay, I don't have time for you to think about or to be praying about. I'm going to tell you already. This is what you need to do. And you need to have that faith that said, okay, I got this from God. It just came out of nowhere. This is God. I can see the benefits of it, and I'm just going to do it. And just let it play out.
Right.
And then we have to realize sometimes also this: some things that he tell you directly, he wants you to learn some things, and some things. So let's say this podcast didn't work out, but still God directed you, Brian, to do this. It's something that in this broadcast or setting it up or constructing it, he wanted you to learn for your future.
Mm. Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
what
agree.
you have to understand.
Well, I mean, just even learning about the podcast, we were able to help the church.
Yeah, and we're still
Right.
at
Exactly.
Yeah.
See.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And
you followed the Lord, and and that takes courage too. That takes courage and just like he said, faith. Stepping out there because
right.
sometimes
Because
you
got right.
you do that. Sometimes
You have to understand. Look at Abraham's son. Y'all know we always talk about Abraham, how he went up, was going to sacrifice his son, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have to understand the son also. The son,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't a good situation for him. He
Right.
was laying on an altar. His dad was
Right.
finna kill him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now that situation would seem like this is not a good situation. How come you sitting up there and following the Lord and Lord is about to kill you?
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord didn't. So you just think about what he learned during that period of time, during that short period of time. See?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he learned to trust God and have faith. Like, hey,
exactly.
he gonna bring me back to life, or or just I'll be with the Lord.
Right.
He just he went with it. So now he's learned to trust God.
Right.
That God loves him, and he has his back. Yeah.
Yes.
So okay, so now, so you've been a minister for how long?
I've been a minister. I really can't count the years, but I just know it's been over 20 years.
Wow. Wow.
And
what is the I don't want to say the best thing you've learned, but like what is one thing that you've learned
We'll say most impactful.
Yeah, the most impactful thing that you've learned being a minister.
Listening to God. That's it. God have made me a stronger man. He have made me be able to be patient. He made me to be able to look at people trying to ridicule me, how to roll it off my back and keep going. He have made me learn how to forgive. Because some people will talk about you, and then next thing you know, they coming back to the church for some help or different things that they need. And the Lord have showed me how to forgive and keep going. But one of the main things of this listening, the Lord taught me, is that everyone has a season to do different things. And you have to understand when that time and season is up so you can move on and do something else, whatever the Lord have you to do.
So when you mention the season, everybody has a season, because I've said that to myself. That's funny you say that. I've said that to myself, like everybody has a season or in life that it's time for a change. As you've been doing the ministry, when did you realize it was another season to change to go back to school?
Again, that was another thing. I had me and Fleet had been fighting the military for a long time for my benefits, and they was coming very, very slowly. When I finally got to like 40%, I was brought in through an educational part of the VA, and they informed me that I had money that I could receive for going to school, or I had, because in the military I was able to pull up like $2 or $3 out of my paycheck to go to education because I wanted to go to school. But that never happened because in Montana, the manpower was down to 70%, so we always had to work. Okay, the base was not 100% manpower, so I couldn't go to school. So I found out that I had money and that I was able to go to school. And they brought me in and they told me, they said, Xavier, well, we can cross train you into whatever you think that you like to do. And I was thinking, and then the lady that was helping me, she said, Xavier, before you got out, I heard you was doing some things in the hospital. And I said, yeah, just they had me go to the different hospitals, different military hospitals, and just talk or pray to people. And she said, "Have you ever thought about being a psychologist?" And I said, "In a way, I did a little bit, but I haven't put that much doubt." And I said, "Well, so what would I have to do with the school? I mean, what I have to do and how much y'all have to pay?" She looked up. She said, "Xavier, I want you to know something." I said, "Yeah." She said, "The money you put in and for what we had to put in, you have enough money to go all the way to get your master's without paying for anything." I looked at her. She said, "Yes, this day and age, yes." I said, "I won't have to pay for nothing." She said, "No. Matter of fact, we gonna be paying you extra, amount every month because you had that much interest in everything." I like, okay. So y'all know what's funny? She told me that I think around 9 o'clock in the morning, around 1 p.m., I was already registered at Johnson County.
Right.
I got back to her at 3. They was closed at 5. I got back to her at 3, and she looked and she said, "Xavier?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." "Well, you're supposed to come back when you register." Here you go. The whole place is just bust out laughing. You are by far the quickest one that ever went and got registered at school.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Because
Look,
is
it too late for us to join the military?
I tell you, because when I went there, Johnson County really made it easy, because I was looking at different schools, Penn Valley, Johnson County, and then one of my guys that was in the military with me, he said, "Man, Johnson County get you ready quick." I said, "For real?" I said, "Yeah, go straight there." I went there, and they said, "Oh yeah, you military?" Yeah, and I showed them about what they get. They said, the guy said, "Well, you want to do type of psychology?" He said, "Okay, let's start signing you up." I said, "Okay." Sign me up. He said, "There you go. You can take that back." I said, "I can." And I looked up, it was do something. I said, "Oh man." When I got back home, so when they got there, they filled out the papers showing how much I would be getting extra a month. Brought it to the house, please said, "Oh my God."
Saying we in school now.
Right. Yeah, we in school now. And then next week I started school.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing about it, it was right there doing the in January after fall term. And I only had about a week for school, to get registered and stuff. And when I brought it back to the VA education, they just cracked up. They said no one have never did it this fast before. None whatsoever. And for that, I got a book bag, I got a laptop, I got all these other supplies. I tell you, I would.
Oh my goodness. So that was do you think that you made a good decision?
Yes.
Going for that. So do you enjoy what you're learning?
Because the one thing that I wanted to, as ministers, we will always help people spiritual wise, in which we should. But I also wanted to be like Jesus, where Jesus helped with the earthly things, like he fed before he taught.
Right.
And I just didn't want to be one of those ministers. I heard a lot of them, believe me, they would give earthly advice, but it really wasn't that great of advice. So I wanted to be able to look deeper into a person to give them great advice, earthly advice, and then even help them with spiritual, advice. So, and I know the Lord did that for me because I went all the way through. I had to get over my fear of being in class with younger people because I thought they was going to be smarter, which I realized that wasn't true. So you're looking at an old man that was in the class that sometimes I was older than the professor. Okay.
Wow.
And they would look at me and ask me questions about something that happened in the past, or if I remember certain things. So not only that, I mean, God took away my fear.
Mhm.
He took that away after a week in school. He took that away from me. Because
Mm.
I was scared. I was scared I'm gonna be stupid. I'm gonna be dumb. These young people got all this and this, and he took that totally away.
Mm.
So,
God is good. God
yes,
is good.
yes.
So
yes.
now you work with kids.
I work with all ages. Really,
Oh,
right now. I started
okay.
off with kids, but I work really with all ages. I work with especially depression, PTSD type of thing, drugs, and also in family. What it's what we call family gathering. That's the word that we use in my group.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to help family to come back gathering, come back together. So,
Oh, that's good. Well, okay, we're gonna go to a break right now. We're gonna
okay,
play a small commercial, and then when we come back, I want you to, because this is Mental Health Month.
okay,
This is, June is Mental Health Month, and so what is, be thinking about, something that could help, anyone that's listening, like, maybe it could be, maybe three things, kind of like the top things to kind of think about this month. I know, it's the summertime,
It's
Father's Day,
mm-hmm.
lots going on in the world.
Yeah,
We just was stressed out earlier today, you know what I mean? Like stress, different things, when there's a lot of different things kind of going on, you can you know, not do what's best for you.
exactly.
So maybe there's something that that you've learned in your studies that can help people kind of navigate this time, or even to think about this month to try to focus on to help them throughout the rest of this year.
Okay, I
So
sure will.
we're gonna play a short commercial, and we want to thank all of our listeners and our supporters, and most importantly, One Church in Christ. They support us, tremendously. And so we want to play this commercial from One Church in Christ.
Okay.
Hello, family. I'm Pastor Seal, and I'd like to welcome you to One Church in Christ. Join us live this Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, where we'll be broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook Live. Come with a listening heart and be inspired. We can't wait to see you there.
Okay. Now, one thing I will say, one thing that I took away, we you kind of talked to us. It was like a Sunday after church. And I think we were getting ready to start a series, but we didn't get to finish the series. And you were talking about, real life things. And I remember one thing you talked about was when people were, I think it was like, bipolar or depression or something like that. Like the main thing to worry about was if they were
happy.
Yeah, if they were, because normally they're sad and kind of depressed, and people are like, oh, let's worry about them because they're sad and quiet and not talking. But then you were like, no, you really need to worry about them when they're happy and they have energy, because that's when they will go and feel confident about taking their own life. So I thought that was very interesting. Like I never even
thought about
that.
Yes. Sometimes with people, because they're happy, they have finally made a decision, and they in their mind, their decision is, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. And those people usually are the time that they will write some type of note, because they feel comfortable, they feel good about what they are about to do.
Wow.
So we have to, the world itself has changed from the days of the old the older way of looking at psychology. Things are different, which we all know. Technology is different, so the way people think are different. There's not much of critical thinking anymore in school. They don't teach kids critical thinking anymore. Kids know Google, they know TikTok, they know these things, and they will follow that guideline. Okay, and we have to understand that anybody could write something on Google, anybody could write something on TikTok. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So, in our day and age, just like the first century church, you have to be able to be with God. You have to be able to really be with your family. You have to be able to really understand. You have to form a bond that is unbreakable with families. And when I say unbreakable, I mean unbreakable. Because the world is now there to break things. And the way that they look at things, those ways are not good ways. So we have to really be able to have a bonding with our family to understand exactly where they're at and to speak with them. So that's what I'm saying.
So is that did you have something else like to think about for everybody else, or that was it? Like that was the main thing, like make sure that our families are unbreakable.
Right. You make sure unbreakable. If you think about psychology, anyone, I'm gonna say this, and well, I'm just gonna say anyone could be a psychologist. Okay. And we use it in, every day. I'm a reality type person. We use it every day. Take Seal, our minister. He used it in the ministry. He used it when he preached. Okay. He used the spiritual way to have us to think about things. Okay. Right. Summer, you use it. You use it in the way y'all do this podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
What were you trying to say?
but she does. She has to use it because she has to perform and do certain things. Brian, you have it. Okay. You have ways that that will be the best way of doing things. Okay. Right. And you can teach people. We all have it, Felita, she gonna say she have it for sure, no matter what, in which she does. Nikki, she has. We all have these. We all have the ability that God gives us. Okay. I'm gonna say this. Your mom, Summer, she is the straightforward person I ever met.
Yes, she is.
However, that's a good thing. Because at least if a person comes to her, they know that she's not going to be beat around the bush.
Right.
She's going to tell you. And see, all of that is psychology. All of it. Any type of advice that you can give is psychology, because what you are trying to do is help this person to be a better person. Okay. And that's the positive realm. Last week you had Elder Ben on. He gave great things. The week before that says, come on, after that, all of that is all about that. Anybody read, Dr. Seuss, like Cat in the Hat,
right?
He was all about that. Matter of fact, I found a saying that was on a board that I bought that was from him, and it says that you have brains in your head. You have shoes on your feet. You can choose any direction wherever you want to go. Basically, it's like that. I messed up the last part. But what he's saying is that you have the choices to go the right place if you need to, if you want to. We have a choice of following God. And the thing about following God is that He is the only one that if you follow Him, you will not make a mistake. I mean, we can falter, we can have problems, but God's path, if we stick with that, it will always get you back to the right place.
Mm-hmm. I found that quote. So it says, "You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose."
Exactly.
Dr. Seuss.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's in the places you'll go.
Right.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Right.
Oh,
And
like
yeah,
that
that's
quote.
something that Felita gave to CJ, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Well, we have about 4 minutes. So,
Okay.
oh, now there was one thing I wanted to know. So you said that the families have to be unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get to that place? Like, we can say, make sure your family's unbreakable, but what does that mean, and how we
Constant communication. Constant communication. You need to know the mothers, the fathers need to know as much as they can about their child and who their child is around. The children need to know that the mother and father are there to show them the right way and not to do anything that is different. Just like you mentioned, this world is going through a season of different things, corruption, all of that. People trying to figure out what is the best way when God is the only way. Sometimes men will step in and try to help God. God doesn't need any help. And by them stepping in, they look at their own knowledge and try to figure out this is the way it should be. No. We do not know everything about God the Father. But one thing we do know is that he wants us all to be able to be saved and be with him. That's for sure. So we need to be looking at that.
What can people do if they don't have,
that support?
Yeah, that support, or
reach out. The best thing to do is to find someone. Find someone. Look at people. Look at how they are doing things. Okay. Look at Summer. It was some reason you picked Brian, right? You had to look at him, right? I mean, I know y'all handsome and everything.
Right.
There you go, bro. There you go. But you still have to be a certain way. Okay.
Right.
All right. So you can look at people, and by looking at people, you will be able to tell what you need. And you know what? And the good thing about it, it could be different people, because different people could bring different things. Okay. Like I said, your mom is straightforward. I can look at her and say, if I go to this sister, she gonna tell me. She gonna tell me straightforward. I go to Brother Ben. I know he could tell me some history and things. I go to your brother. I know Sil will do it. Sil is a psychologist. Y'all know. The way he does things. Well, you look at this and they're like, okay.
I was just asking you about the weather.
Yeah,
I didn't ask for all that other stuff.
Exactly. Sister Coleman could just go from, okay, you asked them one thing and it's going to go. Okay, it's going to go in other things. So, but that is what we are supposed to do. We should watch people and see if this person can give you something. Okay.
The right thing, because people can give you the wrong thing.
Exactly. And then if you do run across somebody to give you wrong advice, well, you already know, okay, I can look at that person and say, I'm not going there.
Right.
One of the best things that what you need to realize, we all make mistakes. Everyone. No one is perfect. Okay.
Right.
So whatever mistakes you make, you can believe that you can pick yourself up from that mistake. Okay. You can go back and try to do whatever you have to do, but we all make mistakes. No one is perfect.
Right.
And that's a lot of times that when I talk to people, they don't want to talk because they look at me and say, well, he's a psychologist, so he gonna have anything right. Well, that's when I don't go to them dressed up. I don't go into with a suit and tie, because that's not going to help me to get to that person.
Right.
I have to be like them. or trying to say I am just as you are.
Mm.
I make mistakes, but let's see if we can help each other and move on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that reminds me of the Lord, because
yeah.
he has
He meets you where
he
you
lets
are.
us exactly. He meets us where we are, and he lets us know that he's gone through the same things that we go through.
And that is so true. It doesn't matter when you get into the vineyard, as long as you get there. It doesn't matter what mistakes that you have made, as long as you know you have made them and how to recorrect or not do those again. That's it.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's wonderful, Elder Como. Wisdom speaking. Wisdom.
That knowledge. Dropping that knowledge.
Yeah. That doctorate degree.
That doctorate degree knowledge.
I don't know about that. but one thing I do pray for every day is wisdom. That's one thing I do. That's one thing that's always on my list for Lord. Give me the wisdom that you would have me to deal with today's or the problems that I come with. Because with wisdom, everyone could have emotions. That's your feelings, but wisdom gives you a structure where you can help and build. Not only yourself, but other people also.
Well, we're blessed, Elder Como, to have you as part of our congregation, and we are blessed to have you on this show. This was a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
This was
so 6.
Yeah.
so 6.
I'm blessed to have the people that's there. I'm blessed to know the people that we are there, and everyone comes in all the time, and you can just learn. I sit there and just watch at times, and or I listen. Y'all might not think I'm listening, but y'all be in the conversation. I could be eavesdropping, okay, but I listen. I listen, and I learn every time. I learn.
Well, that's good, Elder Como. It's been wonderful having you on this show.
It's been wonderful being here.
And I pray that people are going to listen to this and really understand that when you follow God, he's going to lead you.
He's never going to lead you astray.
Never going to lead you astray. Listen to that small still voice. We learned that when he brings it to you, he's gonna bring it to you. And if we have questions about what we need to do, that we just pray about it and ask the Lord, and He will. We need to have faith that He's gonna show us the way, that He's gonna lead us in the right direction, and He will.
He's gonna give you an answer.
Right.
That is true. And the last thing, like I say, it doesn't matter what time that you have. It only matters what you're going to do with the time that you do have. So remember that.
Gotta write that down.
That's good. Well, we thank you, Elder Como. That's wonderful. Okay. Let me see. I think, we talked about, we fulfilled Mama's question.
Yeah, I know.
So that's what I got together. Yes. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on the Listening Heart. This was episode 6. What did you say?
Like, subscribe.
Oh, yes. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And please like and subscribe on Facebook. We're trying to get our Facebook numbers, the likes up, so that we can eventually stream actually on our page. Right. So yeah, thank you for joining us. And if you have anything that you want to talk about, please reach out to us. Either send us a message on YouTube or send us a message on Facebook.
Join us next week.
Yeah, join us next week for another episode.
Okay.
Brian Goins.
Yes, with Brian Goins. Reverend Brian Goins. So we're excited about that.
Get on me about that. Reverend Brian Goins. So yeah.
Wonderful.
All right, everyone. We'll have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week on the podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.